Hi guys, it's Elizzy and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you guys about the bizarre and mysterious death of Elisa Lam. I want to talk to you guys about the death of Elisa Lam because I've been looking into her death for a while now, and there's just something very unsettling about the way her death was ruled out. Although it was ruled out to be an accident, I think there's more to this case and I'll get into it. But I would love to know what you guys think as well. Sorry, before I get into it, I just want to let you guys know that I've got some notes here purely because there's just so much to this case, as I said, and I really don't want to miss anything out, but if I do, I'll try to comment it down below as well. But yeah, I've got all my notes here, so let's get into it. Let's recap the case quickly, and then I'm going to get into details about who Elisa was, some information about the hotel, other bits and pieces of information that will be crucial to this case. Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old student from Vancouver, Canada, and unfortunately her body was found in a water tank at the Cecil Hotel in LA. So who was Elisa Lam? Elisa Lam was born on the 30th of April 1991. Her mum, Yina, and her dad, David, immigrated from Hong Kong and later opened up a restaurant called Paul's Restaurant in Canada, Vancouver. Elisa was studying at the University of British Columbia, and Elisa had a strong online presence. She had a blog called Ether Fields and she liked to express her interests. So she had interests in fashion, clothing, and people usually say that she had a dark side, which I sort of agree on because she would often post about her feelings. She suffered from depression and she was very honest about her feelings towards psychology and the society around us. As I was researching this case, I honestly felt as if I knew Elisa, and she's so relatable, and I think that's because she was so honest with her feelings and thoughts about depression. It's very different nowadays on social media where, especially Instagram, we like to only post good things in our life, the glamorous things, and we don't often talk about how we're actually feeling, and it can be actually very damaging to our mental health because we have to, as if we have to prove that everything is going right, but we're all humans, and you know that's not the case. But that's what I really appreciated about Elisa and her online presence, because she was showing her true self. But anyway, Elisa then moved on to Tumblr and her account was called Nouvelle Nouvelle. I think this is French. The translation is new news or new. In French it's feminine and masculine, so if you're French, please do let me know if there's a meaning to that or if it's a saying. Please do let me know. But as I was researching this case again, I thought Elisa was very deep in her thoughts, and I wonder why she wanted to name her Tumblr Nouvelle Nouvelle. Okay, so a few things about what Elisa would post online other than her interests in fashion and clothing. Just noted down the things that stuck to me specifically, and we'll get discussing later on in this video anyway. So she posts saying that she's lost her phone. This will come important later on, as I said. And she also mentions that she has reopened her Facebook. She reopened her Facebook account for the 5th time, and this was due to her paranoia. She posts that she wants to travel, so she's booked flights from the 18th of January to the 22nd of January 2013. She plans to travel to Vancouver, and from the 22nd to the 27th of January 2013 she wants to go to San Diego, and then she says the rest will be written. So I think personally she doesn't know where she's going to go next, but she will let her audience know online. Okay, another important thing that she mentions, for the first time she says that she's open to meeting new people, and I think she says applications, so she's obviously done that for the first time, which I think is quite significant in this case. On the 28th of January she checks in at the Cecil Hotel downtown Los Angeles, and it's next to Skid Row. Sorry, before I get into Elisa checking into the Cecil Hotel, I want to mention that Elisa posts online saying that her behaviour is now reckless and impulsive, and she fears that she might come across the wrong people and she might get into trouble because of this reckless and impulsive behaviour. I think she says that in a way where her behaviour is changing and she is now feeling reckless and impulsive, basically. I want to talk about the Cecil Hotel, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly because I'm known to be a butcher and I'm very bad at pronouncing names and places and things like that, so please let me know. Although I don't really think it matters. Cecil Hotel. But anyway, this hotel is known to be very spooky, very dark. It's got a very bad reputation, and it's actually housed well-known serial killers such as Jack Unterweger and Richard Ramirez, also known as the Night Stalker. People often say that the Night Stalker would walk inside the hotel with his bloody shoes and bloody clothes after he's been on this murder spree. So can you imagine if you're at a hotel and you see somebody with bloody clothes, and you're probably just so used to it. Like if I saw that in where I live, if I saw somebody with bloody clothes, I would run into the house and I would call the police straight away, you know, because we're not used to seeing things like that. But it does actually tell you a lot about the hotel and people who actually stayed at this hotel. Black Dahlia was actually seen at the bar at this hotel before she passed away. A lot of people also believe that the hotel was very spooky and haunted. They believe that there were a lot of unsolved mystery cases, bizarre deaths happening, people committing suicide. So yeah, I hope that really explains a little bit about the hotel. I actually watched the Netflix documentary about this hotel. I forgot what it's called, but I'll probably place it on here onto the screen or comment it down below. The hotel manager, her name's Amy Price, and she was a manager of this hotel for around 10 years, and she said that she witnessed 80 deaths or murders. 80 deaths in the span of 10 years is actually a lot, don't you think? And she said that she would often call the police 2 to 3 times a day, and sometimes the police wouldn't show up to these calls. In this documentary, there was also a gentleman called Kenneth Given. He said that he stayed at the hotel often, a lot of times, and he said he's witnessed a lot of dark things happening there. When I say dark things, I mean like drug dealing and things like that. And he said he was actually scared to go above the 6th floor because nobody would want to. It was really bad above that floor. Skid Row is known to be a very bad place. There are around 8,000 to 10,000 homeless people living there, so they've got all of their tents and things like that. People also say that it's a very deprived area, the homeless population, and there are a lot of drug dealing happening there, a lot of prostitutes as well in the area, and a lot of murders. I also heard that the hotel staff wouldn't do criminal background checks, so there'll be a lot of people with a past history of crime that would stay at this hotel, and the fees were quite low, so it was quite affordable for people to stay there, and which explains why the Night Stalker and Jack would stay there as well in the midst of their killing sprees. So because the hotel had a very bad reputation, they decided to redo the hotel and create another hotel within this hotel, which was called Stay on Main. So I'm going to pop a picture here. So the first and second levels of this hotel was given to long-term Cecil Hotel tenants. The 4th and 6th floor would be the Stay on Main hotel, which mainly would consist of tourists and younger people living there, and the 7th floor and above would be the Cecil Hotel. So they've renovated some parts of this hotel, I think, which is Stay on Main, and they like decorated the rooms, and apparently this actually helped to get some tourists into the hotel. So yeah, that probably helped with the reputation. I also want to talk about this further in the case, why I believe Elisa went there. Let's talk about when Elisa checks in at the Cecil Hotel. So she checks in, as I said, on the 28th of January. At this time, Elisa was actually sharing this room with other female tenants or tourists, I'm not too sure, but apparently they complained about her behaviour, and they said her behaviour was very weird and bizarre. So the hotel workers actually move Elisa, I think, onto the 5th floor, and she no longer shares the room with other people. She's in this room by herself. Elisa was last seen on the 31st of January by hotel workers and a bookstore worker called Katie. There's actually a few videos online about Katie interviewing about her last conversation with Elisa. Katie explains that Elisa was quite friendly and outgoing. Elisa explains that she wanted to travel, and she was just worried about the books that she was going to buy because she was worried that they would be heavy. So this actually indicates that Elisa wanted to travel, and apparently Elisa also mentioned that she was buying gifts. I'm not sure for who, maybe for her family where she goes back home. So I know I mentioned that Elisa had originally lost her phone, but apparently she was borrowing her friend's phone that she also misplaced somewhere. So even though I'm not too sure if she had the phone or not on how she was in contact with her family, but she was in contact with her family every day. And since her family did not hear from her on the 31st of January, they were worried, so they flew off to Los Angeles in the hopes to find out what's happening, where she is, and why she isn't getting into contact with them. So Elisa's parents, Yina and David, arrive at Los Angeles, LA, and they contact the local authorities. The LAPD, Los Angeles Police Department, actually think that she's in the hotel. She hasn't checked out because she was supposed to check out on the 31st of January as well. So they strongly believe that she's in the hotel, and they start the investigation investigation in the hopes of finding Elisa Lam. The first few days of this investigation, the police actually have no idea where she is and they don't find any clues as well. However, on the 6th of February, police make an appearance on television and urge people to keep an eye out for Elisa. On the 14th of February, the police find the footage, the CCTV footage of Elisa in the elevator. So the very famous video that's online that I'm sure a lot of people have seen. And apparently this footage was from the 1st of February 2013. On the 19th of February 2013, an hotel employee found Elisa's lifeless body in the water tank at the Cecil Hotel. This employee's name was San Diego Lopez, and he went up to check the water levels because apparently a lot of people had complained about the water at the hotel. Apparently it was very dark, and some people actually say initially when they run the water it's black, it smelled a bit funny, it tasted a bit funny. Because of the complaints, San Diego went up to the roof to check the water, and he said that the water tank was actually open, and that's how we discovered Elisa's body. When I found out about this, I was actually so shocked because I can't process the thought of staying at this hotel, drinking water, brushing my teeth, having a shower possibly with this water, and then finding out that there was actually a body in the water tank. So Elisa's body probably had contaminated the water, and which is why the water was a bit off. On the 21st of February, Elisa's death was ruled out to be an accident. Okay, now I want to get into the theories, and the first theory I want to talk about is the possibility of murder. Initially, when researching this case, I thought there definitely had to be foul play involved, let be by a hotel employee or somebody that was staying at the hotel. As I said, the hotel was known to be a very bad place, so perhaps maybe somebody had traced Elisa's movements, maybe realised that her behaviours leading to her death were a bit bizarre, and I do believe that Elisa was quite vulnerable, which I'll explain in a second, due to her mental health. So maybe somebody was actually watching Elisa, realised that Elisa was by herself, and maybe Elisa didn't know that this hotel had a bad reputation. Maybe she thought she was going to be staying at Stay on Main and not Cecil Hotel because it looked different from the outside. So I'm not too sure about that. I thought maybe this was the case of an hotel employee doing this to her, because I want to talk about the rooftop and where the water tank was located. So apparently there are 4 doors to get to the rooftop. The main entrance, which is allegedly supposed to be alarmed, and 3 fire doors. So the hotel actually announced that alarm wasn't activated during the months of January and February 2013. So it was open. Maybe Elisa or somebody else was able to get up there, because it wouldn't, if the alarm wasn't activated, then it wouldn't have notified any of the hotel staff or possibly residents as well. People who actually stayed at the hotel and went to visit the hotel, so there's footage on YouTube about this, saying there's actually graffiti on the walls of the rooftop, so graffiti around the area on this rooftop, and people actually say this was a chill out place, so people would actually go to meet their friends or chill there, maybe do drugs, because the hotel was known to be that sort of an environment anyway, or maybe it was just a hangout place for people to meet. I do like rooftops myself. I don't know if I would go to a rooftop in a hotel though, that's another story, but maybe it was just a place for people to meet each other, I don't know. But anyway, the LAPD found another footage of Elisa from the 31st of January, and she was entering the hotel with 2 men. These 2 men had a box, and I think it was said that it was 2 men that were working at the bookstore. I'm not too sure about it, but the police have ruled it out. I don't think they've given us information about who these men were or if these men were looked into, but I'm sure they have been as well, but I'm not too sure. And I don't understand why 2 men have to carry a box. So apparently it's a box, say this big. I'll try to find the footage and I'll place it here as well. So Elisa's entering the hotel with these 2 men and they have a box. Why did these 2 men come with her? I don't know, and What intentions did they have? I don't know either. I also want to talk about the roommates. So Elisa shared the room with other people. I don't know how many people, but females actually, to be precise. And they had complained about her behaviour. Who were they? Were they looked into? I'm sure they have, but this hasn't been released to the public. So a lot of people are saying that maybe, you know, if the police actually looked into them further, they would have found an idea about how Elisa was feeling before she was initially lost and then found, when her body was found. Why did they complain about her? In what sense was she acting bizarrely? In what sense was she acting in a weird way? What was she doing? What was she saying? I think it's very important to understand. So yeah, I think it's very important to understand why these people actually complained about her and what they had to say about Elisa. I also want to talk about the fact that when Elisa's body was found, she was found to be naked, but her clothes were in the water tank with her. So I want to talk about the lid of the water tank. A lot of people are saying, how did Elisa get into this massive water tank? The lid is supposed to be very heavy. So how did Elisa get into there, and then how was the lid shut? But according to San Diego, I think his name was, the hotel employee who found Elisa's body, he said that the lid was open. So I think there's a hatch of the lid. So for instance, you've got a massive lid and then there's a hatch, and Elisa was petite, so I'm not sure if she jumped in, but I'm going to get into that as well. But yeah, so a lot of people are saying that maybe the hotel covered this up and said that the lid was open. And also, according to the LAPD, they've checked everywhere in the hotel because they thought she was going to be in a hotel. She didn't check out of the hotel, right? So they looked allegedly at every nook and cranny. They've looked everywhere. So how comes you did not realise that the lid of this tank was open? So you don't think, oh, okay, let's just have a peep inside. You would automatically, I know if I'm looking for something, I would look everywhere. I would like literally look everywhere to see if I've misplaced something somewhere. And this actually happened to me when I got back from Turkey a few months ago. I bought some bracelets for my friends and it's missing. I couldn't find it anywhere. I literally searched everywhere I could, even underneath the sofas, underneath cushions, you know, you look everywhere. So if the police went up to the rooftop, why couldn't you actually look into the water tanks? Why? You'd think, like, you're a police officer. I don't have any training, and I think I'm a critical thinker. So if I was the LAPD, if I was working for them, I would actually look into a water tank because everything and everybody is suspicious in the case. Please tell me what you think. Am I right to think this way? Let me know, please. And also about the hotel employee stuff. God, my belly keeps rumbling, I'm so hungry. And also about the hotel employee finding Elisa as well. He is the first person that came across Elisa's body. Maybe the hotel told him to say, you know, that the lid was open. I don't know. And maybe, oh my God, maybe even, maybe the police did look into the water tanks and they did not see her body. Maybe it was placed afterwards. I really don't know, and it's really bothering me. But yeah, so maybe the police actually did their due diligence by looking into the water tanks and she wasn't there, and maybe her body was placed in there afterwards. Anyway, let's get into theory number 2, which is suicide, that Elisa did this to herself. Elisa's online presence does prove that she suffered from depression and possibly mental health. It's also said that Elisa suffered from bipolar disorder, and according to her toxicology report, they found traces of the medication, but it wasn't from the day that she died. It was from, I think, a few days prior to that, and it was known that Elisa did not take her other medication. There are a lot of doctors online talking about personality disorder, and even though I work in mental health myself and I have a lot of clients with personality disorder, I didn't want to really go into this in detail because I don't think it's fair to stigmatize Elisa too much and blame it on personality disorder or her depressive thoughts. I'm not too sure about this because personally I didn't know Elisa, and although she was struggling with depression, I don't want to label this as a suicide. I don't think it's fair to Elisa herself and to her family and to people who actually truly cared about Elisa. A lot of doctors online say if I'm not too sure what medication she was on. I will have a look and I will probably put it here on screen. A lot of people say that there can be side effects of medication and not taking medication as well, which can actually explain her behaviour in the lift, in the elevator. But I'm going to get talking about the video footage of Elisa in the lift as well shortly. I don't think Elisa's family have talked a lot about her mental health. And that could be because due to the stigma of mental health and mental ill health, should I say. I come from a Turkish background, and I do know that some things seem to be taboo and stigmatized, although mental health, I know to this day, is still stigmatized. People can't freely talk about how they're feeling. I try to. I know that I have been very depressed, like a lot of people, given the current circumstances with the pandemic, with war happening in the world, with just day-to-day lifestyle, really, day-to-day living is very hard at the moment, and I totally can relate. And I know people don't often talk about their feelings and their depression, and especially if they have been diagnosed with a mental health illness, it's not as easy to discuss and talk about it. But I think Elisa was quite open with discussing her thoughts, and I actually feel like Elisa was feeling very lonely. Maybe she couldn't, as I said, discuss this with her friends and family, and she felt a lot of pressure, so she wanted to actually express her thoughts online. And I do appreciate Elisa for expressing her thoughts like this, and I hope and I do wish that everybody was able to do this. Maybe it could help to take, you know, some weight off people's shoulders, just discussing it and just talking about the stigma attached to mental health. But yeah, a lot of people do think that due to Elisa suffering from depression, or maybe not taking her medication properly, that she could have probably wanted to end her life, and she jumped in the water tank. Okay, so moving on to another theory, and that is that Elisa was killed by the government. This is very bizarre, right? Because on the 21st of February, apparently there wasn't an outbreak of tuberculosis, of TB. And that is just days after Elisa's body was found in the water tank, right? The 21st of February, 2013. The LA Times newspaper reported that there was the biggest outbreak of TB in Skid Row, and it was significant. What more to this case is that there was a test kit, right? A urine test kit for TB, and it was called Lam Elisa. How bizarre is that? That is literally spelled the same spelling, but just the other way around. So Lam Elisa. And another bizarre thing about this conspiracy is that the company of the test kits were actually located in Vancouver. And some people actually say that Elisa studied at the same campus, same university where the test kits were made. So is that a coincidence, do you think? And a lot of people, when they talk about this theory, they say maybe it was somebody higher up to clear out, unfortunately, this sounds so bad, to clear out the homeless population because of the reputation. LA is actually a very popular destination. I really want to go to LA, and I specifically want to go to this hotel as well. Initially I was saying, oh my God, I would love to go to this hotel and try to film it, but apparently because of this case being very popular and the Netflix documentary, they've got high security there now, that they have CCTV everywhere, and it's not as easy to film and go up to the roof. But anyway, yeah, so a lot of people are saying maybe the government, maybe Elisa was in on this, the tuberculosis theory. Maybe they wanted to infect a lot of people there in the hopes of getting rid of the bad name, the reputation, and the bad people in the area. LA is a very popular touristic destination where people often want to go and visit. Maybe they thought the fact that there's a lot of homeless people here, it's not very appealing and it doesn't look very nice with all the tents. But yeah, very sad. But come on guys, what do you guys think about this? Please let me know. Like, when I thought about this, I was like, oh my God. And there's also I think her name's Bella on YouTube. She talks about this invisible cloak, where Elisa apparently mentioned that the government was coming up with an invisible cloak, where the government had created an invisible cloak, and the government didn't want people to find out about this, so they killed her in this way in the hopes of, you know, when you Google this, when you Google Elisa Lam, you wouldn't come up with this theory. And I don't think that's the case. I don't know if I explained it properly, but yeah, I don't think that's the case, but I don't want to get into it too much. Another conspiracy is that Elisa was killed by somebody who stayed at the hotel a year ago. He was a singer, I think, and I don't want to talk about this too much because I don't believe in this myself personally. You can research it, but I don't believe it. Apparently he actually talks about it apparently online sleuths attacked him so much. They were so horrible to him and they accused him of killing Elisa Lam. He wasn't even at the hotel at the time where Elisa was missing and her body was found anyway. He says that he was there a year ago. He stayed at the Cecil Hotel a year ago, way before this happened anyway. However, I do understand why people were pointing the finger at him. I don't really know a lot. I haven't really researched this theory of the case a lot, but he was known to be, I think, a bit racial. So the way he looked, I think people just say that, you know, he didn't look the part, and I think people are actually stigmatizing him in a way. Yeah, people say he was a bit of a racist. His songs included racial comments, and his songs indicated that he was a murderer, but I don't know. I haven't listened to them. I have come across a video of him talking about his innocence, and he seemed very distressed about it. Another theory is that this is a copycat murder. Apparently there was a movie called Dark Water from 2005. I know it's such a coincidence, but they're due to people complaining about water levels and the water being too dark and smelly in, I think, an apartment, and then due to the complaints they find a little girl in the water tank. They find a girl's body in the water tank, and apparently the circumstances are quite similar. So the girl had a red top or something like that, and Elisa was known to be wearing a red top as well. I think a cardigan, I'm not too sure, well, when she was found. So another theory is that Elisa was playing the Korean elevator game. I say Korean because I think this is actually a Korean elevator game thing that she was doing. Another theory is that Elisa was playing the elevator game. This is known to be a Korean game, and I'm not sure how it works, but you get onto an elevator and you press random buttons, and I think on the 5th floor it takes you to another dimension. So this is supposed to be like a thriller, a scary game that people play. I'm not too sure what I feel about that. I don't really believe in that, and the people really hold on to this because in the CCTV footage, Elisa is actually pressing a lot of the buttons in the lift. So I'm not too sure. It is quite strange because Elisa was actually Elisa's room was actually located on the 5th floor, so I don't know if she was playing that game or, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think Elisa was actually playing the game? Because actually, now that I'm talking about it, it makes sense because she was on the 5th floor, but I'm not too sure. Please let me know what you think. I also want to talk about the CCTV footage of Elisa as well. A lot of people are saying that apparently there is around a minute of this footage that has been lost, either has been deleted by somebody working at the hotel, and yeah, so that is very suspicious. I think that's very suspicious. And also in the video footage, a lot of people are saying it seems as if the lift is broken, the doors just open, because you get into a lift, right, and then you expect the doors to shut afterwards, after like I don't know, a few seconds or so. So yeah, a lot of people are saying maybe the lift was broken. But from the Netflix documentary that I watched, they're saying that Elisa's actually pressing the hold button. So apparently this button holds the lift for, I think, 2 minutes. And that is a significant amount of time for somebody to be getting onto this lift and maybe potentially taking Elisa somewhere leading to her death, because there is a minute of this footage that has been deleted or lost. What do you guys think about that? I think that's very weird as well. And I also want to talk about the possibility of Elisa's death being an accident. Do you guys think it was an accident? Because I do know that the police had sniffer dogs and they only sniff her scent to a particular spot, and then they couldn't find her smell any further. I do know that the police checked her room and couldn't find any indication of foul play in her room either, but I'm not too sure about that. So yeah, do you guys actually think that Elisa wasn't feeling well? Maybe she was lost. She got herself into the rooftop area and she jumped in. I'm not too sure about the weather anyway, and let's not forget it was January or February, because it was believed that she died on the 1st of February. Do you guys believe that the weather was hot and she wanted to get into the water and she wanted to swim inside the water tank? A lot of people were saying that, you know, her clothes were off as well, so that's quite strange. Do you guys think that she took her clothes off in order to float because her clothes were potentially weighing her down. But I think she was wearing flip-flops anyway, so that does indicate that maybe it wasn't too cold, or maybe she was just wandering around in the hotel, and that's why she was wearing flip-flops or sandals. I also want to talk about her autopsy, her toxicology report as well, because this is very important in the case. So her autopsy report indicates that there was moderate decomposition and no trauma to her body. So there was no scratch, no marks, indicating that there was foul play or somebody had pushed her in there. I'm not too sure about this. There was a rape kit tested on her body as well, and there's no indication of sexual assault. However, I do want to talk about the aspects of sexual assault. In order for someone to gain sexual gratification, they don't need to get physical, no? So I don't know, somebody's thoughts in that way might be seeing Elisa naked, or I don't know. So I don't think that sexual aspect should be ruled out completely. And I don't think the rape kit was actually tested on people. I'm not too sure. Please don't quote me on that. Please let me know. But yeah, I don't think there was anything noted in that sense as well. So they were saying that because there seems to be no indication of foul play, how could somebody had maybe taken her up the ladder? So the rooftop, the water tank, there's a ladder that goes up there. I don't know, but I think that's how people explain it. How did somebody carry her, not scratch her, and then just throw her in there? Was she drugged? But also that's something that I wanted to mention as well. So there was no indication of drugs in her system, no alcohol, just the medication that she took a few days prior to her death. So there was no indication of Elisa being under the influence of drugs or alcohol or anything like that. Back to somebody potentially carrying her and throwing her in there. I think Elisa was quite vulnerable, and maybe somebody said, oh look, somebody potentially said, come upstairs, let me show you something, but I need to carry you, and just dumped her in there. Maybe, I don't know. That could be a possibility as well. But something so bizarre as well is that, oh my God, take a shot every time I say bizarre, by the way. Something very odd in this case is that the toxicology report, the autopsy report, right, has been scribbled off. So initially it was marked to be unknown. So the cause of her death was unknown. And then it's as if somebody said to the person working on this report, said, hey, you cannot do that. You must report it as accidental, as her cause of death being accidental. I'm going to put that on screen as well, because I think that's quite important. The autopsy report, immediate cause of death was drowning, and then other conditions contributing but not related to the immediate cause of death, bipolar disorder. So as you can see on screen, you can see that the section where it says could not be determined, somebody has scribbled that off and said, and put down an error note on there, and then have ticked off the accident section of this report. And then in this report, it also shows us other sections. I'm going to link the whole report to you guys. Have a read and tell me if I've missed something out, if something's sticking out to you guys as well. Yeah, so what are your thoughts on this report? So my personal thoughts, I'm, like everybody else, very confused with this case. I definitely strongly believe that somebody out there knows something about this. If it's an employee worker, or maybe it's the hotel trying to cover up. It's just very suspicious. The whole circumstances leading to people finding her body in the water tank seems very odd to me as well. But I definitely feel as if somebody knows something out there. And I do think that foul play was involved. I don't think Elisa was trying to end her life herself due to her mental health illness or her depression. I think she wanted to actually travel and explore maybe her personality further. So she was only 21 as well, like she was quite young. And I'm not saying, you know, young people don't commit suicide, or, you know, young people don't have thoughts like this. That is a possibility. However, I think she was quite deep in her thoughts. She still felt like she had a lot more to discover in this world. Elisa seems very relatable to me. Honestly, I felt so sad, because I felt like her life on this planet was just cut too short. I feel like Elisa would have contributed a lot to society, to people around her. Elisa was somebody's daughter, somebody's sister, somebody's friend. As I said, I felt as if I knew Elisa by the things that she was saying. She was so relatable. I hope she's in a better place now when she's not suffering. And yeah, I really want to know what you guys think about this case. And let me know if there's any other cases that you want me to look into, because honestly, I proper researched this case and I hope I haven't missed anything out. Thank you so much for taking the time and watching my video. Please let me know what you guys think, because I think as people online, although, you know, solving true crime mysteries and things like that is quite fun to do for some of us. Like, I really enjoy watching true crime videos. However, I think we can be I also think that it can be detrimental to solving things, and I just feel like the whole toxicology report as well, the autopsy, seems a bit odd to me. So yeah, I want to know if we can do anything further about this. So yeah, let me know. Please comment what you think, because it's very important to me. I actually want to discuss this case further with you guys, and let me know if there's any other cases that you want me to discuss. If you enjoyed this video, even though it was all over the place, it seemed like, and I'm a butcher at pronouncing things and words, let me know if there's any other cases that you want me to look into. Please, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel, like this video, and comment down below what your thoughts are on this case, as I said, or if there's anything else that you want me to look into, and if there's any other cases that you want me to look into. Please stay safe and take care of yourselves. Bye.